Connor Selby, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thanks for having me.
You got this great new album, The Truth comes out eventually, coming out on August 29. What's this period like between finishing the album and waiting for the release? Are you excited, anxious? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's been quite a long time coming, to be honest, because the album was recorded last June, so it's been a while. And yeah, there's a lot of I guess mixed feelings. Yeah, on the one hand, I'm very excited. I'm very proud of the album, but on the other hand, of course, you never know how people are going to receive it, so there's always a tiny bit of trepidation. But yeah, really can't wait to get it out into the world and see how people take to it. And yeah, really excited for the release.
Yeah. Well, one of the big differences I found between this new album and your past albums is the expanded use of brass. There are some great brass arrangements on there, particularly on the opener, Someone, with its big band feel. At what point did you decide that brass was going to feature quite prominently in this album?
I think it's just because a lot of the music that I really love and was inspired by has a lot of brass on it, and it's something that I sort of tried to do a bit on the previous album. But yeah, I thought going into this one that there were particular songs I knew I really wanted to expand that on, and yeah, like you mentioned, someone that features a lot of brass, and then All Out of Luck as well. I knew that needed a quite a prominent horn section. Um, yeah, it's just inspired by all this kind of soul and jazz music that I love. People like Ray Charles, so I talk about a lot. One of my biggest inspirations, and yeah, I just love that sound really. So that's why I wanted to incorporate it into my music.
Yeah, someone was a co-write with Stefan Redtenbacher, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, were you in the same room or was that done remotely?
Well, that song I more or less wrote most of it on my own, but Stefan just helped me just tidy up a few bits with the arrangement and everything. But generally speaking, it was mostly me, and I think I just wrote that with an acoustic guitar at home. I can't remember when, probably about 2 years ago now.
Yeah. So with that brass element on the album, does that mean that you have to find a brass section to play live? You got quite a few dates coming up.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really afford to bring a brass section on the road with me all the time. But I'm doing a gig, the album launch show in London, which will have a horn section. And I've been lucky to do a few shows in the past with a horn section, mostly in Europe, where it's a bit more feasible. Um, but yeah, having a horn section in the band live is just an incredible thrill. There's nothing else like it really, and it really elevates the music so much, in my opinion. But yeah, going back to Stefan, he wrote all the arrangements, and he's largely responsible for the horn section side of things. I can't take credit for that. That was all he's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he did an amazing job with the arrangements. I love the way they sound,
Yeah.
and I'm really pleased with how it all turned out.
Yeah. So what is your core band at the moment? What does it consist of?
It's a four-piece, so me on guitar and vocals, drums, bass, and keys, organ and piano.
Okay. 10 tracks on the album. Were there others you were working on that didn't quite make the cut?
Yeah, there were a couple of outtakes. There was a sort of quite traditional blues thing, which is sort of just recorded quite haphazardly at the end of the sessions. I, you know, it's cool, but I didn't feel like it felt connected to the rest of the songs. It seemed a bit arbitrary. And there was another cover, a Ray Charles song called "No Use Crying," which we recorded, and that probably would have ended up on the album if it weren't for the fact that obviously you're limited by how much you can put on the vinyl on the disc. Um, but yeah, it's a really funny story with that because that song, as far as I'm aware, hasn't been recorded by anyone basically since Ray did it in 1966 or something. And the guy who played keys on the album, Dave Limina, he's just put out his own record as well. he's chair of the piano department at Berkeley in America, and he's just made an album celebrating piano blues and all that stuff. And he recorded the song as well, in completely independently of me. We hadn't talked about it or anything, and he did that on his album. And then Ray also reissued the original song. His estate reissued it for the first time, literally ever. It wasn't even available on vinyl or CD since it came out, I think, and it wasn't on Spotify certainly. But now it is. So that all kind of happened at the same time, which is quite funny.
Yeah. As soon as I heard the track, what else is there to say? I thought of B.B. King. Was he a big influence on you?
Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah, BB King is definitely a huge influence on me. I wouldn't say particularly on that track, but he's every day I listen to BB King. He's one of my favorite artists and just a constant source of inspiration for me, certainly.
Yeah. There are a few down-tempo songs on the album, but in general, it's upbeat and brassy. Then the album finishes with Songbird. Why did you want to close the album with that ballad?
Um, Songbird and another song on the album, Amelia, uh, they're songs that I wrote quite a few years ago. Um, and I've sort of had knocking around, but I never really knew what to do with them or if they fitted with the rest of the stuff I was doing. So I kind of was reluctant to release them until now. But Songbird I've had in the back of my mind for a long time. And both of those songs were written when I was really into people like Nick Drake and just kind of folk music and folk guitar in general. And Songbird uses the Nick Drake tuning, the same one that he used on Pink Moon and a lot of his songs. And yeah, the reason why I put it on the album is because partly for symbolic reasons, because it kind of represents a chapter of my life which firmly ended. So it was kind of me making peace with that and saying goodbye to that era of my life. But also just because I think it's a good song and I showed it to a few people and everyone really loved it, even though it's very short and it's quite a it's more of a lullaby. That's the way I see it. And I kind of just put it on the album as like an epilogue, like a postscript. It's not supposed to be its own song necessarily, but just a little atmospheric way to end the album. That's the way I see it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lovely way to end the album.
Mm.
It sounds like some of the songs go back quite a way. Were there many written recently, specifically for the album?
Yeah, most of them were just those two acoustic ones. Um, I mean, I'm quite slow when it comes to writing, and the previous album was recorded in 2020, I think, December 2020. So that was a long time between the two albums, and yeah, some of the songs took a while to kind of develop. The Truth Comes Out eventually, the title track was another one which I didn't really finish until just before we did the album, but it was, I had the sort of the nucleus of the song for a while. But yeah, it just took a bit to kind of, uh, cross the T's and dot the I's, so to speak, and get it finished. But yeah, most of the songs were written, just around the time of the album recording,
Yeah.
other than the ones I mentioned.
How's your cut-off valve? Are you good at knowing when a song is done and to leave it alone?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, to be honest. It's one of those things where you just have to kind of trust your instincts. And for me, when I'm writing a song, it's really important that there's a sense of an arc to it. Like there's some drama. Like it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And usually it's quite clear to me when the story's been told, if that makes sense. Like, um, so, as I say, sometimes it can take a long time to reach that point. For example, if the truth comes out eventually, you know, mostly that song was pretty much all written, but there was one bit which is the kind of descending chord thing where it goes from D minor, C sharp seven or whatever, major seven to C major seven. And that was kind of just the last thing that it needed. to be finished. And once I had that, I knew, okay, that's it. It's got everything it needs. I don't need to touch this anymore. And yeah, that's kind of my attitude with all my songs, I suppose. Like I know how a good song is supposed to sound, and I'm just kind of using that as a reference point. And yeah, as long as there's some kind of story being told and some kind of musical arc, like the song you mentioned earlier, "What Else Is There to Say?" I think that's a good example of where I was quite consciously trying to create a sense of drama in the music, not necessarily the lyric, but just the music, like the way it kind of builds, and you get to the middle eight section with the organ, and then it kind of comes back down again. And yeah, I feel with that song there's quite a clear, um, clear sense of drama being created. I don't know if that came across to you, but
Yeah,
in my mind, that's how it sounds.
yeah. So where did your spark for music begin? Were your parents musical? Did they have a record collection?
Yeah, my dad was the starting point, I guess, like many people. He is a big music lover, and yeah, he certainly was the one who exposed me to music initially when I was growing up. Um, Mainly like classic rock stuff, but some blues as well. And he took me to see Eric Clapton when I was quite young, which was a very, that must have had an effect on me. And he's always been very supportive of, me doing music. And since I was a young kid, he always kind of nurtured that in me and taken me to lots of amazing concerts and things over the years. And yeah, I have him to thank for that, really.
Yeah. So Eric Clapton, I know you're into his 70s stuff, but I guess that was your pathway into like American blues.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, particularly as an album that he did in the 90s called From the Cradle, which is kind of his most like traditional blues album. And that was really the album that kind of opened my world up to the American guys. Yeah, like people like Otis Rush and Freddie King and Lowell Fulson and Muddy Waters and all these people.
Yeah. A lot of those older guys are gone now, but have you met any of your music heroes at all?
Um, I have met some of my heroes. None of those guys, obviously, because most of them were dead before I was born. But I haven't met Eric Clapton. That's kind of the one person who I would really, really love to meet, who I haven't met currently. But I've met John Mayall. He was a big influence on me, a big hero of mine. Um, and then I've met a lot of contemporary blues artists as well. Uh, I met Marcus King when he was just starting out. I went to see him in London in 2016, I think, and he was playing the Blues Kitchen in Shoreditch to about 50 people. And me and my dad went to see him in Bristol as well. We saw him in the back room of a pub. So that was amazing because, he's obviously a huge megastar now. Uh, and I've been lucky enough to do a lot of great opening slots with people I really admire and respect. People like Robert Cray. So obviously got to meet him and speak to him and Joanne Shaw Taylor and Beth Hart. I've met Joe Bonamassa. Um, yeah, just all those kind of people.
Yeah. A lot of people buy their instruments online these days. Was there or is there a guitar store that you frequent for your strings and to look at new guitars, a store that looks after you?
Uh, Not particularly. I mean, I'm often in London, so whenever I'm in London, I always go to Denmark Street and just have a little mooch around. But I don't think I've ever actually bought a guitar from Denmark Street because everything's quite expensive there. But yeah, there isn't one particular shop. I tend to buy strings and things online, like on Amazon or whatever. Uh, I got a couple of guitars from a place called Coda Music in a place called Stevenage, which is a really great shop. There's a shop that's quite local to me called Peach Guitars, which I did my work experience there actually when I was much younger. Uh, that was before when it was a much smaller shop. It used to be a little shop in a place called Braintree, but now they've got a big warehouse complex, so it's much bigger than it used to be. But that's a great shop. Uh, yeah, there's probably others, but yeah, I tend to get my guitars. I got one of my guitars on Gumtree, which is kind of like an online
Yeah.
marketplace thing. And then, yeah, there's a site called Reverb as well, which a lot of musicians use to buy gear. I've got a few things off there. Yeah, so I guess it's a mixture, really.
Yeah. What's the story behind how you acquired your Les Paul?
Yeah, I've got a few Les Pauls. One I've been using most recently is I've got it here. It's this gold top one, and I got that in that shop I just mentioned, the one in Stevenage, Coda Music. Uh, and then I'll show you the one I got on Gumtree. It's just the one that I got. I had to go to Gloucester, which is in sort of west of
All right.
England, quite far
Well,
away. But so
that's the one in the video for The Truth Eventually Comes Out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a 1955 ES-125, so it's quite old. My only real vintage guitar, but yeah, those are kind of some of the guitars I've been playing a lot recently.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're not a huge pedal guy.
Um, I'm not that I have anything against them, but yeah, just I prefer to keep things simple, I guess. The more pedals and the more things there are that can go wrong, as far as I'm concerned. And also that, I just don't have a lot of money to be wasting on pedals, really, to be honest. Uh,
And
I prefer to have a really good amp and a really good guitar, and then I think that's 90% of the sound done, and the rest is, in your fingers.
yeah, what are you currently using for amplification?
I've got an amp called a Lazy J, which is like a boutique amp, um, made by a guy called Jesse Hoff, who his workshop is actually at the same place where the recording studio is, where I did the last two albums. So I've been able to kind of befriend him, and we've got a good relationship now. And yeah, I've got a couple of his amps. I've got a J20, which is a 20-watt kind of Fender Deluxe style amp, and then a slightly bigger one called a J30, which is more like I guess, a Fender Bassman or Bandmaster or something in between. And those are the two amps I'm using mainly at the moment.
Yeah. What's your main songwriting guitar?
Probably this one, which is my Atkin Triple O 37. I got this directly from Alistair Atkin. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Atkin guitars, but they're a boutique brand from Canterbury, and yeah, they build amazing guitars, and yeah, this is one of them.
Very nice. Most artists start out making music in their bedroom and they graduate to performing and recording. And if you're lucky, you can make a living out of it. But the cost of that is that you have to do things like media and attend meetings, organize tours, stuff like that. And music seems to get more complex the more well known that you get. What's one aspect of your music life that you must retain, and the one aspect you'd rather not deal with?
Well, that's a good question. I guess, for me, what's really important is always maintaining a certain amount of curiosity with music. Um, because I think, you know, everyone says this, but the only reason why most musicians end up doing music is because it's just what they wake up thinking about, and it's just consumes their life, which is certainly true of me. And I guess I have a tendency to kind of get stuck in ruts and just listen to the same stuff over and over and over again. But I think it's really important to try and, like, as I say, maintain a certain amount of curiosity with music, and to play with different people as well. That's really important for me because everyone brings their own dynamic to the music, and yeah, just try and discover new things, and keep the love. It's like anything. It's like a relationship or a marriage or whatever. You just got to keep things novel, keep doing new things, keep having new experiences, and as long as you don't get stagnant, you're never going to fall out of love with it, I think. And in terms of what I'd rather not have to deal with, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm not really good at the admin side of things. Um, you know, I do have. I'm working with people. Obviously, I've got my label and booking agent and stuff, and I've started working with a manager as well recently. But I still do a lot of stuff on my own, and in terms of like my day-to-day gigs that I book, I do all that on my own and sorting out band lineups and stuff and dealing with all the logistics for gigs and everything. I do most of that on my own still. And that's not something that, I particularly enjoy doing, but there's got to be some element of work to it, right? It can't just be fun all the time. So it's just part of the job.
Yeah. You played various kinds of venues, small clubs, theatres, outdoor gigs. Do you have a preference?
Um, I don't know if I have a preference necessarily. I mean, I really enjoy club shows, but then again, I really enjoy playing big theatres and stuff as well. The main thing is the sound, If the sound's good, then I'm going to enjoy the gig. Basically, that's what it boils down to. And you can play in a small club and the sound will be amazing, and you'll have a great show. And you can play in a small club and the sound will be garbage. And the same is true of any venue, really. That's the main component for me, which really makes a gig enjoyable. Also, of course, the crowd, feeding off the crowd. But yeah, if you play in a small club, it's easier to kind of get that connection with the crowd, I feel. But you can do it in any place, and I think if the music's good and you're having fun, then you're always going to connect with people. And for me, yeah, that boils down to the sound mainly.
Yeah. So have you rehearsed up all of the songs on the new album for the shows that are coming up?
Yeah, some of them have been playing for a while. Some of them not, going to obviously start playing. But yeah, on the tour, going to be basically playing the whole record, I think. And yeah, really looking forward to it.
Is there any particular track that you're really happy with the way it's come up live?
Um, yeah, I think all of them kind of change, especially because my band lineup is quite a fluid thing. It's always changing depending on people's availability. So everyone, as I said before, everyone kind of brings their own thing to the music, and the songs all take on their own life, I guess, every time you play them. That's the thing with this kind of music. It really is such a dynamic and fluid thing. It always changes, and the feel can change and the groove depending on the drummer. I work with a couple of different drummers who are very different in style, but both equally great in their own way. And yeah, just in terms of one particular song, I really enjoy playing The Truth Comes Out Eventually. I've started playing some of the acoustic songs as well, which is kind of a new thing for me. I mean, I used to play a lot of solo shows. I mean, I still do every now and then, but I used to play a lot of solo shows when I was starting out, playing in folk clubs and blues clubs and things. And yeah, kind of bringing that element to the show with the band has been really good as well. I'm playing some of the songs with the band. That's been really enjoyable. Kind of just bringing the dynamic down. But yeah, I like playing all the songs really.
Yeah. Do you foresee coming down to Australia one day to play?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I would really, really love to. I've got family there as well. My cousin moved to Australia and she's married an Australian man, so both their children were born in Australia. So yeah, I mean, and my parents also have got a big connection to it. It's where my mum lived there a bit when she was a child, and it's where my parents had their honeymoon. So it's definitely a place that holds a lot of significance for us and our family. But yeah, unfortunately, regrettably, I still haven't been there. But yeah, I'd love to go, and I would certainly love to play there as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, the new album is out August 29. It's called The Truth Comes Out Eventually. You should be really proud of it. It's a
No, thank
fantastic
you.
album, and it's been great to meet you, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks very much, Greg. I really appreciate it, and great to meet you too, and great to chat.